I am the night. I am Vezit. I'm Batman. I can never do a voice that deep. But hello everybody. If I could say one thing I enjoy about DC that isn't Suicide Squad, it's gotta be the Dark Knight himself, Batman. One of the greatest crime fighters who seeks for justice. And just like how I did it for Spider-Man, today I'll be covering Batman cartoons. First off, it's The Adventures of Batman from 1968 by Filmation. One of the better Filmation cartoons. This one retains the silliness of Adam West's Batman. And while the budget didn't get as bad as Spider-Man 1967's, there are still some moments where the show is animated about as well as an actual He-Man cartoon. Some of the lines can be pretty cheesy.
We've got the dynamic duo hooked now, and unless I miss my guess, they will soon pay me a visit.
But for a Batman cartoon at the time, while it may not be the best, I pretty much consider this how I consider Samurai Pizza Cut, a guilty pleasure of mine. So if you want to have a silly good time but don't feel like watching Adam West, then stop by for The Adventures of Batman. POV. It's 1977 and you're looking to freshen up the now cancelled The Adventures of Batman. Make it fresh and new again. But how? Got it. How about we actually get Adam West and Burt Ward? You thought that idea was brilliant, but something in the back of your mind told you that this wasn't enough. Ooh, we can have a cute, small, annoying little sidekick. And Batman was born. Yup, that's right. The New Adventures of Batman includes a new voice cast for Batman and Robin. This might be jarring for some, but I don't mind. Although I will miss the Speed Racer-esque speed they spoke in. Newcomer Batman is... I hate him.
Three's a crowd, Batmite.
But all I want to do...
Shut up.
It's really weird to say, but in this one, not much happens. Some of the villains from the previous ones are here, but not all of them, which is kinda weird, and I'm assuming it's a rights thing. Batgirl is here. Cool. And honestly, this isn't a bad show, just kinda mindless. I'd say you're better off skipping this one. "15 years after the New Adventures of Batman came Batman the Animated Series. The one that's the most cherished, the one that's the most celebrated. But does it still hold up years later? Yes. Thanks to Bruce Timm, we get to see the Gotham City in a brand new, bold, and stylish art style. Not only that, but it manages to give us a unique and never seen take on the characters we know and love, while also managing to incorporate obscure and unknown villains like Wellsman. Did I mention that the writing is superb, giving the villains sad and tragic backstories, atmospheric title cards, and very good animation? This certainly is one of the better Batman cartoons. This is definitely one of them. You shouldn't miss out. After Batman the Animated Series ended on September 15, 1995, a follow-up was made under a new title, The New Batman Adventures, not to be confused with The New Adventures of Batman, in 1997. But that's not the only thing that changed. The art style of the whole show has also been significantly changed, and in my opinion has been downgraded. Not so much for the heroes, but for the villains. Most of their designs are downgrades compared to their superior one in the animated series. This couldn't be more obvious than on the Prince of Jokes himself, Joker. Tim as the new Robin is actually a neat idea, and they managed to pull it off well. I just wish he appeared in more episodes. They also pulled off well for Nightwing and Batgirl. Another thing that took a major hit was the writing. There wasn't really as many episodes that I liked here than in the Batman the Animated Series, which is a shame. I wouldn't really watch it unless you really want to see how they portrayed Tim and Nightwing. Now for this part, I thought it'd be a little more fitting to get someone else who loves the next show a lot more than me. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul.
It had been years ever since the Batman animated series ended and Bruce Timm was tasked in making a sequel. This task would be too risky because the animated series of Batman was considered more than a masterpiece. It was something special and unique that beats all the other Batman films and shows. Thankfully, with Bruce Timm's amazing juicy brain, he succeeded with Batman Beyond. This series was considered a masterpiece from fans. The series follows after the animated series 20 years after. Gotham City has now advanced with new technology in a futuristic setting. Of course, just because we come to the future times doesn't mean the crimes are gonna disappear, as it's still happening with Jokers, which is a group villain by the way, and a bunch of new ones. Also, you might be thinking, well, not to worry about the new ones because Batman's gonna come and save the day as usual. Well, the thing is, he is in this one, but he's gotten old, and I mean bitter old. He's not really the main character in this one. Instead, it's a new character called Terry. Terry honestly feels like if Peter Parker became Batman with all the different equips, and that's honestly not a bad thing. Terry is definitely not a Batman clone, I can tell you that. He's one of those teenagers that's cool sometimes, although he's mostly a bit aggressive at times. Something that Batman wouldn't normally act when it comes to foes. What makes Terry a good character though is his ways of trying to overcome the bad stuff he has done in the past and tries to make up for it. Nor for glory or anything, but for redemption for his father's death. Bruce is like a father to Terry, and he reminds Bruce of the past and tries to mentor and father him. The show is actually pretty darker than the first as it deals with real serious topics. It's actually scary to say the least, although, let's be honest, Batman does have horror elements, so it wouldn't be too much surprising, but this one is actually pretty much darker. But anyway, the actions are spot on as ever, as they're really over the top, like seriously. You take the fight between Terry as Batman and versus the Joker, like, you gotta admit. There are also returning characters from the first series like Barbara, Jason, and Joker. After watching Batman Beyond, it's obvious that there are many horrific moments in the show, but during the darkest hours, there's always a lightful message to keep you going.
Thanks for that, Paul. And next up, we have Batman the Brave and the Bold. God, I love that theme. I can just hum it to myself like anyway. Oh, and did you know that this version of Batman ended up meeting Scooby-Doo? What? And yes, you are looking at it. You are looking at the reason this video exists in the first place. If I could start anywhere, I'm just gonna say that this show does a better job at making us learn about the more obscure side of DC. Like The Flash. I know he's not obscure, but I know absolutely nothing about him. Or Aquaman, who in this show is voiced by John DiMaggio. You mean the guy who voiced Jake from Adventure Time, Bender from Futurama, and Sandman from Spectacular Spider-Man? Now that's how you know the show is good. Batmite is here, Ron, but he's actually funny here, so hooray! Hooray! The writing overall is very solid. I like how the show's style goes for a more modernified take on the classic comics. Nice touch, nice touch. And the animation overall is pretty solid. More people are giving this love, which is deserved, but I still feel like this show is the more underrated one. So if you got time, drop quick your way to this. So before we move on, however, there was one I did miss out that came out before Batman the Brave and the Bold, and that is The Batman from 2004. This series takes a lot more risk, like giving us a more optimistic Batman who doesn't actually want to be Batman all the time. But by the end of the seasons, he's more like the Batman we know, gruffer and rougher. Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle. But it also does a good job giving us unique aspects to this version, like how the villains all have unique designs, like the Joker for example. I love Mark Hamill as much as the next guy, but Michael Richardson, sorry if I mispronounced that, also does a pretty swell job as Joker. Oops. I knocked my box. Damn it. If you want something that's pretty much toe in toe with the Batman animated series, but with a different take, then grab your Batarang and do it real hard. I don't know what I was going for, just watch it. Would you believe that Batman the Brave and the Bold actually saw the next cartoon we're gonna talk about? And it's CGI. Ladies and gentlemen, beware the Batman. While seemingly using the same usual Batman stick, but it does a few things to separate itself from the usual, like using way more obscure villains, having Batman and Commissioner Gordon get closer and closer as friends during the course of the season. It also shares a similar tone to the animated series, but where it fumbles, tumbles, and struggles tougher than the rest of them. Okay, I really need to stop that. Is that some of the villains' tone clash pretty hard with the show's aim for darkness. Katana contrasts Batman perfectly. Brawn and brains. It basically depends on whether or not this sounds interesting to you. And while there was a second season planned, it never happened. So we're pretty much left with a show that's good, but could have truly been brilliant. And with that was pretty much most of the Batman cartoons. Surprisingly, unlike Spider-Man, I didn't really find any that were outright terrible. The worst some of them got was just kind of being mediocre. And with that, I leave you with this closing message from Batman the Brave and the Bold's final episode.
And until we meet again, boys and girls, know that wherever evil lurks, in all its myriad forms, I'll be there with the hammers of justice to fight for decency and defend the innocent. Good night.